Welcome to a virtual meeting of the Allen Park Board of Education. During these challenging times, our school community remains strong and supportive. Please continue to keep your focus on taking care of yourselves, your families, and each other. This evening, citizens who wish to express public comments may do so by accessing the online citizens comment form located on the district website. The homepage has a link that will lead you to the form as well as to this evening's agenda. Your comments or questions may pertain to an agenda item or non-agenda item and will be read during item 9 on tonight's agenda. Comments will be accepted up until that time of the meeting. Please indicate on the form if you wish to receive a written response or if you just wish to make a comment or statement publicly. Prior to this meeting, board members ran a test of this system. Please note that no business took place. It was merely a technology test. And with that, I would ask everybody to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And with that, I would ask Ms. Drudowski for a roll call, please.
Mrs. Filipiak.
I'm here.
Mr. Klein.
I'm here.
Mrs. McDonald.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Moynihan.
Here.
Mr. Shearer.
Here.
And Dr. Warren.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll seek approval of tonight's consent agenda items, which include approval of tonight's agenda, approval of the June 22nd, 2020 meeting minutes, approval of check registers for June 24th, June 25th, June 29th, June 30th, July 2nd, and July 6th, and lastly, approval of wire transfers from June 4th through July 9th.
Motion.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. President's communications, I have none at this time. Item number 6, reading of communications, Mrs. Filipiak.
I have none.
Thank you. And moving on to, with no old business tonight, we'll go to item 7B, introduction of new business. Item 1, ratifying resolution for 2020 refunding bonds. Mr. Dargo.
Thank you very much. In June, the board approved a resolution authorizing the assurance and delegating the sale of the 2020 refunding bonds. The 2020 bonds are being issued to refinance a portion of the outstanding school loan revolving fund balance. As a part of the bond sale process, the district bond rating was reviewed by the S&P Global Ratings, and I am pleased to share that the district received a strong bond rating of an A. This is the complement to our financial and management practices under the direction of Ms. Tiffany Keith. Competition was strong as a total of 8 bids were received for the bond issue. Robert W. Baird and Company Incorporated submitted the lowest true interest cost bid of 1.593585%. Baker Tilly budgeted a SLRF interest rate of 3.50% for an estimated savings and the present interest rate of 3.0%. The 2020 bond achieved lower yielding ranges from 0.35 to 1.70%. This resulted in an estimated total gross savings of $1,478,214 to our school community. Board members have received the following schedules: a summary of the 2020 refunding bonds, estimated interest costs and millage savings, pricing summary, estimated proposed millage study, and an estimated existing bonds millage study for review. At this time, we are asking the board to consider approval of ratification resolution. The suggested motion that the Allen Park Board of Education adopt the ratification resolution for the 2020 refunding bonds as presented.
So moved.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Let's go around. Dr. Warren, any comments?
Besides what an amazing job Tiffany did, saving money is always a good thing. So we appreciate that greatly.
All right. Okay, Mr. Moynihan.
Nope, I'm good. Like the plan.
Okay, Mrs. McDonald.
Good job, Tiffany.
Thank
That's
you.
always a nice surprise.
Mrs. Flipiak.
I'm all set.
Mr. Shearer.
No, excellent news. Great job, Tiffany.
Lastly, Mr. Klein.
Thanks, Tiffany. I'm not sure what the threshold is for chump change, but 1.5 million is definitely above chump change, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's right. That's good. Okay, been moved and supported. We went around the horn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Mr. Darga, moving on to item 7B2, board meeting schedule for 2020-21.
Thank you. Regular board meetings for the year are selected and scheduled according to the school calendar, with 2 regular meetings scheduled in the month of January, which is our organizational, and June, which is the public budget hearing meeting. Additionally, we have proposed a schedule of work sessions for the board for the 2021 school year as well. Suggested motion that the regular meeting dates and work sessions for the 2021 school year be approved as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. We'll go around for comments or questions. Mr. Moynihan.
Sounds good to me.
Mrs. McDonald.
Sounds good.
Mrs. Flipiak.
I'm all set.
Mr. Shearer.
No, it looks good. Thank you.
Mr. Klein.
All set.
Dr. Warren.
All set. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Been moved and supported. We've had questions and commentary. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion carries. Moving forward to item 7B3, memberships. Mr. Darga.
Thank you. Board packets included information and invoice to continue membership with MASB, which is the Michigan Association of School Boards, the Metropolitan Bureau of School Studies, and the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Membership costs have been budgeted. I recommend that these memberships and fees be approved as presented, in addition to the Michigan High School Athletic Association membership resolution. This is a year in which we will especially depend upon the guidance and research from these organizations. Suggested motion that the memberships of MASB and the Metropolitan Bureau of School Social Studies be renewed by the 2021 school year, and further that the attached Michigan High School Athletic Association membership resolution for the year of August 1st, 2020 to July 31st, 2021 be adopted.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, been moved and supported. Let's go around. Mrs. McDonald, anything?
Nothing. Thank you.
Mrs. Flipiak.
No comment. I'm all set.
Mr. Shearer.
Yes, I had a question. The second one, the Detroit, do we get a lot from that one? I don't know. I'm just asking. It sounded like if from the MASB we actually get a discount on stuff and it pays for itself a million times over.
Yeah, the Metro Bureau. Yeah, that's the second one, and I could have John talk to that as well. Actually, they do a ton of professional development opportunities for the admin team, and we attend, probably 10 a year or so.
Yeah, that's for my money. That's the most valuable one that we have. That's the Council of Academic Leaders. I go to the curriculum directors meetings every week, or every month. And it brings together tri-county superintendents, tri-county curriculum directors, tri-county HR directors. It's the best organization because they are so focused on Metro Detroit and they bring so many leaders together from the area. So the other ones are great because they're state-based, but like this one says, this is what our problem is in this area and this is what we can do about it. So it's outstanding.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Then I just had a general comment. It seems like the nature of this business is that we end up outsourcing a lot of stuff to a lot of people. And I don't know if that's, this pendulum swings a lot in business, we should outsource everything. And then you figure out it's so expensive and then you start insourcing. And like, have we ever done a list of like, here's all the services we pay for that we outsource and sat down and said, hey, maybe we can start doing some of this ourselves.
A lot of, and again, Dr. Tafelsky can kind of chime in on this. A lot of the services that we do bring in, though, are actually used by dollars that we're able to bring into the district.
Yeah. So we did an audit my first or second year here as part of the technology committee because we had so many overlapping programs and products.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of narrowed it down and said, these are the ones that we are going to support as a district with professional development because people were using all different kinds of things.
Sure.
So we just kind of took some surveys from teachers. They filled out things that they used and programs that they used and would like to see us provide more opportunities for. And so we have thinned out that stuff. Every year, Tiffany and I were actually getting ready to do is it the FIT or the FIR TIF? I can't remember, but it's due in a couple of days. And so we're gonna do that to make sure that we're not spending any money that we're not actually using. And so there's audits on all of my accounts that I'm in charge of. So each one of these may look like there's kind of a lot that we do, but they all have a pretty specific purpose. And if we haven't used them or don't use the services, then we kind of stop doing it. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I got.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shearer. Mr. Klein.
No questions.
Dr. Warren.
No questions.
Mr. Moynihan.
Good question, Pat. I appreciate. I was wondering about that too. Just the first part of overlapping services between the two. Because just reading them, they looked like we got a lot of similar services. But that was a great explanation, John. And I know we go through this every year and decide which ones to use, which ones not to. But it was a great explanation. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. It's been moved and supported, and we've had time for comments and questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving forward. Item 8, superintendent's reports. Mr. Darga.
Thank you. On Wednesday, June the 30th, Governor Gretchen Whitmer joined MASB for views from the Capitol for the discussion about the My Safe Schools Michigan 2021 Return to School Roadmap. We're also joined by the Education Policy Advisor, Brandy Johnson, and 2 school board members who served on the Return to School Advisory Council, Mary Jabbar from Oklahoma Public Schools and Anupam Sidhu from Plymouth Canton Community Schools. This document is a result of the work by the governor's COVID-19 task force on education and the Return to School Advisory Council. It contains guidance to the districts to create plans to return to in-person instruction this fall. The governor also issued Executive Order 2020-142, in which speaks to how to create a preparedness plan and the suggested timelines. The discussion ranged from how to handle districts to cover multiple regions that are in different phases of reopening to mask wearing in schools to funding issues and more. Also, a template of the plans that required under Executive Order 2020-142 was released just yesterday. The document was primarily compiled, developed by the Michigan Association of Intermediate School Administrators, General Education Leadership Network, in partnership with MASB. That template's actually a document that we're using. So to go into tomorrow, we're actually hosting a meeting with all of our building principals tomorrow and directors at Riley. We're going to do social distancing. Dr. Tafelsky is going to lead that way. I'm in a Zoom meeting with the 32 Wayne County superintendents to discuss the roadmap as well as talk about what each district plan is. Obviously, out of 32 districts, our plans do vary. And so we're going to be kind of coordinating. We'd like to have a coordinated effort to kind of release a similar plan. Some schools are opting for all three plans. They're preparing. So they're looking at an in-person instruction. Some schools are also looking at a hybrid model as well as a full online virtual model. I've already released information to our parents, and we're going to follow up tomorrow. We've got a second parent update letter being released tomorrow after the meeting to our parents. We in Allen Park are looking primarily at two options. We're looking at a full in-person delivery model and also a virtual model. And that information was shared really through a parent survey. We surveyed our parents, and over 72% was overwhelmingly in favor of an in-person instruction. Only 21% were hoping for a hybrid plan, and the rest were looking at the virtual plan. Dr. Tafelski informed me today he's got about roughly 50 parents or families have expressed interest in a virtual plan. And at this time, we are looking at moving forward with our in-person plan again this fall. So we've also created, as you know, we have two focus groups. We have a secondary focus group as well as an elementary focus group. Tomorrow, we are creating agendas for each of those committees to be able to move forward. We've downloaded the template from the state so we can fill out the template. That template must be approved by the Allen Park Board of Education no later than August the 15th. The goal of the focus groups is to use the template, fill in the blanks, and make sure that we are hitting those check boxes as well. We've also been able to work with superintendents throughout the state, and schools are sharing their plans. Some schools have already created their plans, and they're sharing those plans with us as we speak. We've got a plan from Melvindale. We've been working closely with Melvindale. We've been sharing information with Melvindale, and they're sharing information with us. We also have Novi's plan, Rochester's plan, and several others by now that we're utilizing for our staff members also. I am excited. Once again, I have to say I couldn't be more proud of the leadership team, the complete leadership team at Allen Park, along with our staff members, our teaching staff members, and general staff. We started our two focus groups at the end of May. We started gathering data and collecting information and hosting our meetings well before the state ever told us we needed to create focus plans. So again, we've been all over this. We've been working hard. Then we utilized our parent survey data, and that kind of helped lead the way that we knew we were no longer going to look at the hybrid model based on parent participation. John, anything you might want to add? Dr. Tavelski?
Yeah, so we've gotten really good feedback from the parents who are interested in the full virtual option. And we want parents to understand that we do want to be and will be their educational partners for the 2020-2021 school year, whether they choose to be in person or fully virtual. And so there's no danger in going fully virtual. We're not going to try and, I had a couple of parents say I'm school of choice. If I decide for the safety of my children to go virtual, will we lose our spot? Know that we're looking to provide all of our Allen Park students with an education and be the educational partner with families and meet their needs wherever they're at and for whatever reason they'd like to take advantage of either option. We have 3 different vendors that we use, and I've been giving parents more information as they have reached out to me depending on the grade level. So K-5, we're using Calvert Learning. 6-8, we're using a program called Courseware. And then 9-12, we're using Edmentum, which is the online program that we've been using for at least the last 10 years. I think, Mr. Darga, it's E2020 has been around probably for closer to 15.
Yeah, E2020 is a program I used when I was the assistant principal at the high school.
Yeah, so that was a little bit ago. I was gonna say, I feel like when I was at a new teacher in 03, I was an E2020 supervisor, and that was the first year of it. But all of the products we feel are good products. They have good parent companies, good experience working with them. So we're happy to work with them. And as we get closer and there's more clarity with number of students and all of those things, we're going to talk more about mentor teachers, technology needs, all of those things. But parents, please rest assured we are going to work with you and accommodate you in all of your educational needs for your children.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's round robin that one for any questions that the board may have regarding the plan and things like that. Let's start with Mrs. Flipiak.
I have no questions at this time.
Mr. Shearer.
Hey, John, can you explain how the the virtual works, are we outsourcing that to a company and the company will handle everything and we kind of monitor and
Yeah.
or do
So,
our teachers actually come up with the course?
Well, we are outsourcing to a company at all three levels for the straight virtual. And so that looks like a pretty, what people might think of as like an old traditional school experience where there's a lecture, there are checks for understanding, there's a unit assignment, a unit assessment, there are some opportunities for writing, and kids read and respond to things and watch and respond to things. Depending on how many students we have, we will be making the decision on whether or not we are using a mentor teacher from Allen Park or using a mentor teacher from those third-party companies. They range in price, but we've done it both ways where we've had in the past for credit recovery, like during summer school, we have Allen Park teachers that we use. Sometimes we'll have kids take classes through MVU, Michigan Virtual University, or Edgenuity, and we'll rely on their instructors. If you're going to provide a full-time online experience for students, you have to provide a mentor teacher that is certified and qualified. So we can either provide that as Allen Park Public Schools, or we can lean on our educational partners, whether it's Edgenuity or Edmentum. Sorry, they both sound the same. And they can provide it. But again, whether it's through us or through them, they are certified and they are qualified.
Gotcha. So the mentor teacher, if it's an Allen Park teacher, do they take it also? Like, do they watch it also? And then, or do they're there for questions, that kind of thing?
They're there for questions. They have a dashboard. Think of it like, kind of like a progress monitoring tool where it would say like, you should be here after this many weeks and you are here. And so like they can kind of, support the student moving forward a little bit,
Sure.
answering questions that they might have. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Dr. Warren.
John, just so I can make sure that I understood you correctly. So they would do that if we were doing both, right? Like if Allen Park as a district decided we're going to go back face to face, that's how it would be run if, the people that choose to go to school are back in school, correct?
Yeah.
But
Go ahead. Continue your question.
I think you're going to answer it too, but if we decide to go the whole entire district 100% virtual, then it would be our teachers teaching our kids.
Exactly. If we went full virtual, it would be our teachers teaching. But we have some parents who reached out to us and said, for reasons A, B, and C, I don't feel comfortable for my child returning. Do you have an online option? And that's what we would be using that for. So
which is
3,700 awesome. Kids would be returning to school. 100 kids would be taking advantage of our virtual option.
Okay. I appreciate all your work on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My other question about that is, so we're going to have to make believe for a second. So let's say we decide to go back 100% face-to-face. Yep. And we have these 100 students per se, right, that are going to stay home. Now, let's say on a Tuesday in October, parent B is like, hey, I'm ready for Susie to go back to school. Can Susie come back to school on Wednesday, or does she need to wait till the term ends?
So we are asking for a good faith commitment from the parents and from the student to go to a natural break in the year. What I've been telling parents, we want to be flexible with them. If all heck breaks loose and, you get called back to work and you have no other outs, we will make it work. But to drop, 100 Susies in on a Wednesday afternoon would be quite the upheaval for teachers, for students, for principals and all of that. So we're asking for a good faith commitment to work through natural breaks, whether that's quarter, semester at the middle school, trimester at the elementary, or semester at the high school.
Awesome. I appreciate the fact that you already thought about that. So thank you again.
Trying.
Right. That's all my questions I have on that. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Moynihan.
Good job, John.
Thank you, Mr. Moynihan.
Okay. Mrs. McDonald.
Well, the problem with all this, of course, is that there are so many moving parts, and hopefully some of the science with all this will show us even more information as we get closer to the start of school time. But I certainly understand where we're going with all this. And having worked with the online programs, I know where there's some of the flaws, and I'm hoping that some of that will be worked out. But, nothing's exactly perfect right now. And like I said, hopefully science will catch up with some of this and make it safer, or allow our parents to feel it's safer for their kids to return.
Yeah, most of our parents have been asking, do I have to make this decision? Because some surrounding districts are saying, like, you have to decide by July 15th. And we're saying, no, 6 weeks from now is a long time. And so we're going to give them as much time as we can. We're just trying to plan the best that we can to get an idea. Because if we have 100 ninth graders that take advantage of this, that would obviously change staffing. But if we have 100 kids across the district, then that might not change as much. So we're just trying to get kind of, again, an idea of where we're at, and then we're looking for good faith commitments in mid to late August. So
Well, thank you for all your work on this.
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Klein.
Yeah, thanks for all your work. A couple quick questions, really one comment and then sort of a question. Obviously, there's going to be some real challenges in trying to figure out how to do this safely. How do you distance kids in a classroom that doesn't really big enough to distance kids? And how do we kind of develop that educational environment still? So lots of things that I'm sure you guys are grappling with and trying to figure out how do you do that in the classrooms with the sizes we have and the number of kids that are going to still be in there. Under the assumption that we do open fully, I think that the one thing that I haven't seen really in plans around the county, at least in the Tri-County area that I've looked at, is a really worked out plan for what happens when kids do get sick, right? What happens when someone does show up sick? What happens when you do find a case? Do we have, same day testing available so we can hit, entire classrooms so that if there is an outbreak, we can shut it down within a day. It can't wait 3-4 days before you've got widespread. So that's the one piece of most plans that I haven't really seen built out that I think, we want to start to take a look at is probably when at some point we're going to find cases in a school somewhere. It's going to happen. If not our school, it'll be somewhere. What are the protocols in place so that we are super on top of that, day one and can begin to identify, and what are those steps going to be? There can be some real challenges with that. I don't know that we really can answer that right now, but something we're definitely going to have to continue to look at is what do we do when when something does happen?
So one of the things that we're talking about tomorrow, Mr. Klein, is, as I stated earlier, I'm meeting with the other 32 Wayne County superintendents. Randy Lipa, who is the superintendent at Wayne RESA, he and his team have been meeting with the Wayne County Health Department. And so they are the ones who would be behind kind of our protocols on how we'll move forward with that, because unfortunately, as we all know, it's going to happen. We will have students, unfortunately, that will be exposed. We will also have staff members. And so we've got to have some pretty firm protocols. Tomorrow during our Zoom meeting, Mr. Lipa has already sent out the agenda, and there's a big portion of that comes strictly right through Wayne County Health Department. So I think those will be some pretty heavy topics. I'll then be able to update our team after my Zoom meeting. I'll walk down the hall, and again, we're having our administrative meeting tomorrow, and I'll be able to share those updates also. But as you stated, there's nothing in writing as of yet.
Right. I think that's it for me.
Okay. Just real quick, Mr. Klein asked the question I was going to ask. The other one I'd ask is this. I guess when we talk about the two options, one being fully virtual and the other being fully present in school, kind of unspoken within that is the possibility, though, given what may or may not happen, that we in fact adjust our in-person to become fully remote if need be, if that situation arises. And if we're talking about that, I mean, it's kind of an unspoken third bucket. I kind of look at that as the third option. If that were to happen, will we have enough discussion plans in place that we could easily adjust rather than have to make decisions in the moment when sometimes we could be rushed or not have all the best information available to us?
Yeah. And I think that just what builds again on kind of why we've created our focus groups and why we're continuing to have administrative meetings, that have now switched over back to in-person over at Riley. We've got several weeks, but the reality is, and we were saying before, just the meeting happened to start. we have to have things ready to switch over, on a simple phone call. Allen Park Public Schools have done a great job, and Dr. Tefelsky arranged for all of our teaching staff members to actually go through extra training so that when we started back this fall, not knowing where we may be, we're able to create and have ready at a moment's notice a robust, curriculum for our students that not only, follows what we're already doing, but also will maintain, assessments, information for content instruction. So we're unveiling that. We're kind of unwrapping that, and that's something that the building principals are working with the staff members. The problem that we run into is we stated, like most schools or all schools, we're being asked to do this all at the same time. Like we have to create almost 3 full plans that are very different by the fall. Dr. Tefelsky, anything else you need to add?
No, I think that's the big thing is that because of the training that all of our teachers went through, it's going to look a lot different in the fall if we have to switch over at a moment's notice to an online platform. It wasn't online education that was happening across the country, in March through June. It was responding to a crisis. And so now that we've had time to prepare, I think that our teachers feel much more comfortable on Google Classroom. We'll have the ability to provide students with assessments and really allow kids to sink their teeth into what the assignments are and what's happening. We've also had a chance to respond from a technology aspect. I mean, we're using some of our money to provide technology to teachers and to students to make sure that everybody has connectivity to ensure that they have an online, to make sure that we can follow through with our online delivery. And that was a big thing. Tech department, I think, handed out over 800 laptops. We've gotten most of them back. We know that there is a problem with connectivity in our district, though, for a significant portion. So we're going to make sure that we do have enough laptops so that at a moment's notice, a kid can take them home. Kid can take the laptop home, and it's not really a question of whether or not they can connect to the internet or not. And Adam and Johnny and Tim did a great job of getting teachers, frankly, and community members hotspots if they needed it. So. It will look different in the fall if that does happen, but we are prepared for it, to answer your question.
All right, thank you for that. And thank you to Mike, your team in central office, and then of course to our teaching population as well, all of whom I'm sure have put in a lot of time preparing for that scenario, which I know we all hope does not arise. But in the event that it does, I'd much rather see us be prepared and have an opportunity to have continuity of a robust educational platform rather than flail away because we weren't prepared for it. So I feel good about your answer. Thank you for that.
Hey, Gordon, can I ask another question?
Of course, Mr. Shearer.
I just had one. How about with respect to teachers? Has there been a survey to, can teachers refuse to come in? Have we done a survey, the ones where it's a really big risk for them to come in? Have we figured out who's in that category, that kind of thing?
So, and I'll jump in on that. So actually right now through the HR department, we're creating a complete document that outlines all the policies and procedures that would happen. Yes, any staff member has a right if they have, a family member who's been exposed or may need to stay home and take care of an elderly family. There are options. Through the federal government, there's been plenty of things that are put out. We've got a several-page document that's going to be released probably midweek this week. We're just tweaking the last couple of things, but it outlines exactly how it works. So that will be sure. But yes, that is an option.
Okay. And then have we, in the CARES Act, is there any money in there directly for schools, or does it all get funneled through the state? I heard there was $13 billion that hasn't been spent yet that was designated for schools.
So we got about $180,000 for our district specifically. Of that, it's up in the air right now. I'm sure everybody's heard about the lawsuits on how it gets allocated to private schools. As of right now, the allocation would be about $25,000 would have to be allocated to Cabrini Elementary and Cabrini High School. If the allocation goes the other way, it would drop down to about $2,000. So it is a big difference. The recommendation from the state superintendent was to essentially spend the lower amount and then escrow the larger amount. So we're just kind of we're kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern, but we are going to spend most of it on technology. You can spend it pretty flexibly and freely. We do have some other options, but one of the things we talked about at ICC was buying teachers devices. So we surveyed our teachers to see if they need devices, and an overwhelming majority really supported that idea. So that's going to be kind of a chunk of change that we're going to spend the CARES Act money on, and then we're looking at a handful of other things.
Okay, so teachers won't have to spend out of their pocket to improve their internet? Is that correct?
So we're going to give them devices. We're looking at 14-inch Chromebooks. As far as like connectivity to the internet, that would be something that teachers would have to work with their internet service provider. Many of them did. Some of them who exhausted all options, we did work with them because they were staff members and because they had children in the district, and we got them hotspots for their home, so we were able to connect them to the internet as well.
I guess what I'm asking, if a teacher has to spend money out of their pocket to do online instruction, will we reimburse them for any out-of-pocket expenses?
No, not typically.
That's not fair. So if they upgrade to the super fast internet, I mean, I know life's not fair. I tell my kids that all the time and they start crying.
Right. What we did though, Pat, is, and obviously, majority of our staff members did not seem to have that. And again, as John stated, those that did have that and they expressed a concern, we worked with those staff members. This past year, when this first started, we also extended, I believe it was $100 per staff member to purchase what was needed. So that make life at home for the virtual learning a little bit less easy. Some people chose to use it for internet connection. Other people chose to use it for share at the house. But every staff member received a $100.
Gotcha. Sure. Okay. No, thank you.
Yep.
And then is there? I'm sorry. I'm a question fact generator. Is part of the whole protocol to test 100% of the kids before they come back to school, or is that a TBD?
Yeah, TBD. So that's one of the discussion topics that's happening tomorrow. It's really interesting as you read different things and plans that are going across the state. I'm actually even testing and thermometers and what they'll do. A lot of schools are actually opting not to, leaving it up to the parent. And if a student or staff member has any type of, if they're showing any signs, they would then be tested. But it's really interesting on how things are changing over time. When it's first started in the talk of going back in the fall, everybody was looking at ordering, several hundred thermometers to be at every door. Now schools are backing away from that based on the roadmap. Like when you read the roadmap even indicates, students in the K-5, when they're in the classroom, they don't even have to wear a mask. They only wear a mask when they're in the hallway or common areas, but within the classroom, the teacher and the students would not have to wear one. We're not stating that. Actually, we're being very proactive as a district in Allen Park, and we're actually looking to purchase. We're getting prices on face shields. Our elementary teachers and principals at the elementary level definitely expressed the need for a shield over a face mask. So we plan on purchasing a face shield for every student, and every one of our teachers and staff members in the district, 400 plus staff members, will also receive a shield. We want our staff to feel safe, and therefore they'll always have a shield that's available to them in the classroom as well.
Okay, Mr. Scherer, anything else? I think we lost him there. Well, I'll assume that ended his questions. Anyone else before we move on?
We had all worried about, I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but it's got to be out there, subs. Are we going to, I can imagine that's going to be a huge shortage. We're going to have higher need, and a lot of people are going to want to come do that job for $100.
Right. So and you're right, 100%, Mike, and that's another topic that we've, I've been discussing quite a bit. And actually, Mr. Dawson suggested, we use Leanne Galaya as the person who handles all of our sub needs within our district. She's fabulous, does a great job. We already hire what we call building subs that are just hired. They report to our buildings every day. It's not an as needed basis. Mr. Dawson had suggested, which was an outstanding suggestion, for the district to consider hiring more subs at that basis. So every school would then have 1 or 2 extra that would always be on site. We anticipate we would be using them on a daily basis. For those school, for let's say the high school on any given day does not need them, those subs could then be transferred to any other building who is short. So we feel that's a great way for us to kind of combat that problem. Those subs are paid a little extra because they're with us every day, and it kind of draws a little bit more attention. So we think that's a great option for us.
Have you given any thought to putting those subs in, actually being hires of Allen Park so that they're in the pension system? Like it used to be Golden Day?
And it's not a bad idea. We've not discussed that yet, and that may be a topic for tomorrow's discussion.
Okay.
Right now, they're all hired through the company that they serve with.
Right, but if we're struggling to find people, that might put us in a better position.
Right, because one of the problems that we're running into, and we already know about it, is those staff members who've retired that like to sub will most likely not come back because of their age, and that puts them in a different category of COVID-19. So we're going to have a really big influx of those people not opting to sub this year.
Correct.
Hey, Mike, I lost my internet connection there, so I want some money to upgrade my internet.
Yeah, get a hold of Tiff. So she go get your hotspot.
Gotcha. I'm sorry. So I came in late on the sub thing. We talked about raising sub pay, the pay for substitute teachers. Did that ever happen?
It did. Yeah. And Tiff might be able to answer, and John, I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but I do know that we did a study on that. We surveyed all the schools and what they were paying, because unfortunately there was a perception out there that Allen Park was one of the lower ones, and when we did our survey, it was not true at all. We were actually amongst the top, and we did even raise it from there. And that's also when we brought in our full-time subs.
And we do also give that bonus for subs who work 30 consecutive days with Allen Park in a semester.
Thank you. That was my question. What about the long-term subs? So,
yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
I just read in section 2000, if you have a sub more than 4 weeks, you got to get some kind of dispensation from the Pope or something.
I think that's changed since we're on our new. But yes, that used to be it, right? Wasn't it more than 30 days in a row? You had to clear it with ORS or something weird. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So don't bother. Got it.
All right. So if there are no other questions, thank you for that. Was informative. Obviously, we'll be ongoing and adjusting. So thank you everybody for that, and continued best efforts in that in that respect. Moving on to citizens' comments, Dr. Topelski.
Yeah, we have a handful of citizens' comments here. Let me refresh the form real quick. The first one is, good evening. My name is Maureen Klein, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at Benny Elementary. First, I'd like to state that I appreciate Mr. Darga's email to the Allen Park school families on June 5th regarding the death of Mr. George Floyd and the national response to racial injustice. Mr. Darga stated, quote, Allen Park Public Schools will continue to host our community conversations, and we will continue to learn and grow together, and we will strive for equity and equality in our schools and community. I'm wondering what specific steps the district is taking to address the implicit and explicit racial biases in our school system. As educators, we must continuously work toward becoming agents of positive change.
And next.
I am a parent of 2 elementary age students in Allen Park. I am also an elementary public school educator in a neighboring district. I would like to know if Allen Park Board of Education has considered reducing class sizes for elementary students. The classes at our home school have over 25 students. I have great concerns about this, specifically at the lower elementary levels. My concerns revolve around academic instruction, relationships, and now health and safety, specific to the spread of COVID-19. Research supports smaller class sizes to improve all three of these. I understand that per pupil dollars will inevitably be reduced this year, so I propose the district consider eliminating consumable materials that may not be fully utilized in the classroom in order to hire additional highly qualified teaching staff. I look forward to hearing your additional solutions for reducing class sizes. When Wayne County returns to in-person instruction, I hope that I will be able to say I know my children are safe because the district has reduced class size. If you need specific research or a parent to participate in discussions about this, please do not hesitate to reach out. Next one, sports complex. On June 5th, my husband, Thomas Jacobs, received an email response from our question at the May meeting regarding the sports complex, stating this: the district had secured Barton Mallow, and a committee comprised of district administrators, school board members, teachers, and coaches have met several times to develop and discuss plans. Unfortunately, the original estimated cost submitted by Barton Mallow was $1.5 million. But after further discussion and surveying our needs, the estimated cost is now approximately $5 million. At this time, this project is on hold. Our concern about this is other downriver districts have some amazing complexes. I know our district is committed to providing excellence to our students and community. With that said, we feel our district will lose new families considering moving here to our great city of Allen Park due to other districts having complexes that are much nicer than ours. With the amount quoted of $5 million, what steps has the board taken to get more quotes for a facility that is going to serve families of Allen Park? Next question: if students choose going to school online, will they still be able to participate in school sports? Just quickly, we're waiting for word on the MHSAA for that one. Next question: why can't teachers stream from the classroom for a virtual school? I can answer this one real quickly because we had a similar question, if that's okay, or do we want to wait?
You know what? If we could answer any of those quickly, I think that we would all probably be fine with it. I don't want it to be a long give and take because it really is citizen comments.
Sure.
But if we could hit on each of them just very briefly, that would be great.
Yep. So why can't teachers stream from the classroom for virtual school? We've actually had similar conversations about it with our attorneys about parents wanting to record their child's experience in school. And the answer from the attorneys is that it can possibly lead to FERPA violations. So the recording in itself is not a FERPA violation, but because of the nature of conversations that are had in class and things that cameras and microphones may pick up, it could violate another student's privacy within the classroom. So our attorneys have said that that is a no, live streaming or recording classes. If there are 3,800 kids in the district and roughly 20% went online, that's over 750 kids. I think there'd be enough room for social distancing. Can you utilize the lunchroom and gym, maybe some outdoor courses, weather permitting? So as a whole, that the number makes sense. But if 10 kids from one grade and 15 kids from another grade and 30 kids from another grade and 60 kids from another grade and different schools go online, then it might not be enough to truly reduce class sizes just from students going online. There would need to be more actions taken there. We also run into a space issue. This person mentioned the lunchroom and the gym. Those are all options that we're certainly looking at, but we have, and Mr. Darger can correct me, but I believe we use every single classroom in the entire district. I don't think we have a single free room. So next question: the ingredients in the cleaning products being used should be a major concern, especially knowing the myriad of allergies kids have nowadays. I think releasing the MSDS sheets on the cleaners would be extremely beneficial. That could sway some parents' decisions about whether or not our kids return to school. I believe, and Mr. Ward can correct this, but I believe we do have to post MSDS sheets publicly.
Correct. Yeah. Those will be posted. And we've also talked about in our last meeting with Mr. Ward to make them available to any parent who may have a request through email. We can go ahead and PDF and scan the products right to that parent. Because I do agree, we have several of our, not only staff members, some of our students who have some severe allergies, asthma, several other things that the parent may want to view so they can make a better informed decision. That information is available.
Yeah, and that was something that we talked about last year. Is people wanted to bring in bleach solution and things like that. Like we are very careful in the schools to make sure that we are not using anything that is highly allergenic to students. And it looks like our last question is a statement. Thank you to Mrs. McDonald for bringing up the idea of hiring subs as district employees.
Dr. Tefelsky, sorry about
Yep.
that. Still getting used
No problem.
to it. Would you mind circling back again to the beginning? If we're going to answer some, we should probably provide a brief answer or response to all of them. So can you circle back to the beginning of those? I think Ms. Klein had a question regarding diversity. If maybe we could touch on that for a minute.
Yep.
And then there was the next question about class sizes.
So I know Mike, Mr. Darga mentioned specifically the community conversations, which he hosted all year last year. I believe you hosted them each quarter, right?
Yeah,
Mike?
we missed about 7 throughout the year. We'll continue to work with Jenny Winters. We're starting phase 2 this year. With Jenny, we also will continue to utilize services from like Ramon Griffin and other areas. The biggest thing is as we continue to work with our community conversations, the conversation piece actually now goes back into the schools. We started with the parent conversations. Parents will continue to be invited, but we'll actually start now working with staff and students going into this school year. And I've already spoken with Jenny throughout the summer months to make sure that she remembers that we are going to continue to move that forward in Allen Park.
Yeah, and I actually had about a 2.5-hour meeting with Dr. Griffin, Ramon Griffin, last week to talk about how we move into the next phase of the work that he was doing with the high school staff and really working with teachers across the district to understand this. And we had a lot of conversations to further that, not just within the school day, but also how we at central office foster an environment in which we're hiring from a pool of diverse candidates, hiring diverse candidates, making diverse candidates feel welcome to Allen Park and the Downriver area. So this is something that we are constantly working on. From a curriculum standpoint, we've taken a lot of time, especially at the middle school level, to really work with teachers on book clubs. So instead of assigning, I think we all remember when we were freshmen in high school, we all read Romeo and Juliet. We're looking at saying, instead of everybody reading Romeo and Juliet, we're going to pick a theme, and then we are going to allow students to pick from this selection of books, so that you can bring in more diverse authors, more female authors, more LGBTQ authors, more authors of color, so that students can relate to those authors. So rather than saying everybody is reading book X, we're saying we are going to read about this topic, and here are 4 or 5 books that you can choose from, so that students can really feel a connection to it. So we're really looking to be culturally responsive with our pedagogy and expand the things that we're doing. And Mrs. Klein sent an email earlier in the year about some of our current materials. So I think that's certainly something that we're going to have to look at, our current materials being inadequate from a diversity standpoint. I think that's something we're certainly going to have to look into. Other questions on that? I hope I hit it all. I'm sorry, Mo. Call me. I didn't. Mr. Klein, if you have any feedback on anything.
Just tell Mo to put the headset on.
The other questions 2 and 3, one was about class sizes, one was about the field. I'm not sure if we missed any other ones, but we could just touch those 2 so they don't feel left out.
Sure. So the looking at smaller class sizes, we have. So I guess I'll answer the consumable materials that are not fully utilized. Some of our consumable materials, actually, the English ones are really the only ones where there are pieces that aren't fully utilized. So there are some performance assessment materials at some grade levels. That was part of a package, and we signed a 6-year agreement. We saved a couple $100,000 by paying up front. So there really is no benefit to not ordering that. In addition, just looking at the amount of money that we spend on consumable materials, even if we eliminated everything we spend in the district, it still would not be enough to really hire a teacher with salary, benefits, retirement, FICA, all of that stuff. I think people see, oh, let's hire a teacher at $40,000 a year, but really you have to add about 42% to that to get TIF. Am I right on that? 42%? Yes.
Sorry. Yes. And the new ORS rate has increased, so we have to remember that too. So
So it's
every
like-
year it does slightly
It'd
go
be
up.
like 44% on top of that, and then it's $24,000 less their contribution. So it does get expensive to hire teachers, and I think Mr. Darga touched on that. We're looking at human resources as well to see how we can, if we can lower class sizes, how we can lower class sizes, and I think that's something that everybody's working on.
Touching in on the next question regarding the field, we're still working with Barton Mallow. We're actually trying to organize. We had a gentleman come through and tour all of our schools. I'm working with Stephanie through Barton Mallow. We are contracted with Barton Mallow. And for the person who was asking the question, I believe was a parent, we actually had presentations at the board before we chose Barton Mallow. So we already had companies that did come in and do some cost analysis and pricing. And of course, the scheme of the scope of the job has changed since our very first, quote from Barton Mallow. The biggest thing I think for all of us to remember is that, unfortunately, going through everything we've gone through and the funding issues, Allen Park Public Schools is still extremely excited to go for a bond. We see the need for a bond in spring. Therefore, we are looking to reallocate funds for our athletic complex. We do believe, as the parent stated, we do believe that a lot of our families in our area expect our facilities to look better. We are one of the only schools in the Downriver area who does not have an updated facility. And I know we've got strong board backing on that issue, as well as, even our entire staff, and we know our school community supports that. So the biggest thing that we can state is that all of the information is really going to be put in towards the bond. So when we are ready to start kind of communicating more information and starting to share our options, we are working with Barton Mallow to make sure they help us with the bond project. And we are looking to utilize funds for that. I'm not saying we're going to spend $5 million of bond funds for the field, but I am saying we are looking at how we can better utilize some funds from the bond to complete the project.
Hey, Mike, when's the bond? What was the timing on that? Did you say?
Is that May?
May of 21.
2021.
May of 21.
And we're looking to go roughly, and the prices do vary, but I think I can safely say around a $50 million bond. That's what we're looking to utilize. And as we all know, $50 million sounds like a ton of money. When we look around our districts, we are working with Barton Mallow. That's why they're sending teams in to walk our buildings. New air conditioning units, new parking lots, new roofs take up a bunch of that money, as well as Adam Mahalik, our director of technology, reminds me all the time that all of our internet infrastructure, the majority of it was put in back in 2003. And so therefore, he could easily gobble up almost $1 million per building just to run wires that no one sees because they're within the structure. So we also have to look at, updating all of that as well. However, that being said, we are looking to allocate money to the athletic complex. And that's not just the high school. We have to do our due diligence, and we're looking at the middle school as well.
And we're going to get an updated projected bond analysis on what our amount is that we can go for after we have just refinanced these bonds with the school bond loan fund. So I'm expecting to get that analysis probably in before the end of the week. So then we'll have an idea of what funding we'll have. By refunding these bonds, we have shortened our maturity due date. So, we now have the bonds that do exist, we'll have them paid off sooner. Therefore, we have that window of where we can go for the new bond. And by reducing those costs on interest, that allows our project to grow.
We also want to utilize, and for our community, and Tiffany and I will again take our show on the road, but we do have the millage monies coming up in this November as well. Yeah. It is vital that Allen Park and our community supports the enhancement millage. There's a lot of money comes our way through that, and that's specifically kind of earmarked for projects within the district, and that can assist us also.
Okay. Dr. Tefelsky, did we touch on all the citizens' comments, does it look like?
Yep, the last students choose to go online, will they be able to participate in sports? We're trying. Teacher streaming, 3,800 kids in the district, 20% went online, and then the ingredients of cleaning products. Yeah, I think we hit them all. And everybody will get a response back. They all did ask for a written response back.
Okay, great. I appreciate you guys doing that on the fly. Mike, John, and Tiffany, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
In this format, maybe it makes sense to give people a little feedback if they're actively watching.
I agree.
I appreciate it. So let's move on then to reports of officers. We'll start with Mr. Shearer.
You sure? Just get comfy. And a few questions, comments. The PPE, again, I'm hitting on this a couple times because I'm just the PPE expense. We got any handle on that? The chemicals we're going to need to buy, the blah, blah, blah.
So we're actually waiting. Wayne Risa has put an RFP out so that all schools can try to get the best pricing. That should be in by now, and I'm sure that'll be discussed tomorrow also.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay. I owe the school in high school $94. So do I send that? Do I just mail that to Tiffany?
Yeah, just attention business office.
Okay. Yeah, I got too big of a refund on my AP class cancellations. I don't know, it's easier said than done, and it's easier for college, but Molly's going to University of Madrid in Spain. They have actually have outdoor classrooms that they created, and they're in college. It's a little easier, a high school kid, I don't know, but that's just FYI. The colleges, what are the local colleges doing? Do we know yet? Like Wayne State, University of Michigan?
So I can only say that my daughter was accepted to her master's program at Wayne State, and she did get a note that all her in-person classes were now going to be online in the fall. That may change over time, but she did receive a letter that they were going to online format.
Michigan State, most of their classes are going online. My nephew's going there, and I don't know if Johnny Klein heard anything, but I think of my nephew's 5 classes, 4 are online and 1 is in person.
Yeah, they're doing some kind of a hybrid program where they tried to, when they can space kids out, they are. But then you also have places like Northern up in the UP that they were full on. At least last I heard, they were going to go full on in person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Michigan State, my sister goes there too. Same thing. They got a message at first stating they're going to be back face to face. I mean, this was like 2 months ago, and now same thing. Most of her classes, but 1, are online.
Does that mean, will they actually move to campus then, or are they just going to stay home? And
So that's the question. We're waiting to find out. So Central, same thing. My brother's going to Central. They were told they're going to be face to face, and we're waiting for that as well. I teach at Henry Ford. We were never going face to face for the fall. So we had options to go 100% online or a hybrid. But the hybrid was like live without the drive. So it's more like this type of classroom.
Gotcha. Okay. And then he had a question. Do we know, this online format, do we know how many people are actually calling in? Has it been pretty good or do we have?
Johnny B and Adam, they're actually able to get the numbers from the online. And we have actually, compared to what we were getting in person, these numbers are larger. Some people do come and go throughout the meeting, depending.
Sure.
But we have had some nice numbers. I can actually try to get a chart for you guys just to see what the numbers have been. I don't have that information directly in front of me.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can hold off on the chart. You probably got a lot going on right now. Yeah.
We have 35 people watching on YouTube right now.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
A record.
Yeah, John just sent us a note.
I just want to echo, I hadn't thought about that, the chemicals, but I actually just heard they had a thing on NPR today about chemical people that are really have a low tolerance to chemicals. So I guess we will have to keep an eye on it. I think the temptation will be to bury the school in chemicals, but that was interesting. We're still hiring 4 teachers. Is that true?
Yeah. We just finished video interviews for our elementary teachers, the video screeners that we send out. We have the counselor position is out still.
Oh, that's right.
We have, I think the music position just ended. The counselor position, that they're filling out their video screeners. They have, I think, 3 more days to do that. The music teacher, I think that posting just closed a couple days ago, Mike, maybe. Yeah, so we'll get that out soon. Did I get to 4? I think I did.
Are those you're saying, John, are those the interviews for inside people that want to take the jobs?
Nope.
Or
So we
outside?
sent out, so like from the elementary school, we had 108 people apply for the job, and we use a company called Easy Hire, and you send out 5 questions essentially, and they're prompts, and then in an on-demand format, the question pops up, and then the candidate answers, and then you go on to the next one.
Okay.
Pops up, and then that video gets sent to us, and then we have a rubric that we use with our teams. So we're able to cast a really wide net. We would never interview 30 people in person. Like, we just don't simply have time for that. The committee convening. Miss McDonald's been on a handful of those committees. I don't know if you had to have 30 people, your mind would explode, I'm sure. So this is just like a 15 to 20 minute interview to give us a sense of what they're doing and make sure they understand what's happening. And then they move on to a longer form interview about, we think between 5 and 10 of them.
Okay. Because I know we had talked about hiring immediately, but I guess this changes everything. Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I'm almost done. I watched a video called The 13th, and it was about systemic racism in America. It was spectacular. I mean, if we're talking about teaching kids and teachers, and then also I saw the state of Michigan now mandates implicit bias training for medical personnel. So I would think that would be a good thing for teachers also. Anyway, so if it was Pat's World, I'd have everybody watch that video or that documentary, and then I would have them all take implicit bias training, including me. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on it? That
I mean, obviously that's something that look into. I've not personally seen the movie, but I did write it down. So I'll make sure I look into the movie. We do have professional development, which on our very first day with our staff, and we're obviously now with everything happening, that's going to change, a little bit on how that will happen, as we're not allowed to have more than 50 people in an area. We've got well over 400 staff members. So there's definitely some options, and I'm happy that you brought that up because that's definitely something that we can look into.
I say that 13th movie. Here's something I didn't realize. In the 13th Amendment, it says you can't have slave labor. It says unless they're in prison.
Yeah, if they're a prisoner, that led to.
Massive incarceration in the 1800s just so they could have workers. It's crazy. Okay. All right. I think that's a check, Mr. Stowe. All right. I surrender.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Scheer. Mr. Klein.
No, I'll be pretty brief. Just thank you to the Allen Park staff, everybody who's, kind of stressed and getting ready for an opening and some kind of opening, whatever it's going to be. Just know that we recognize it's a really difficult time, and there's a lot of stress that comes with that. And hopefully we can do this well. And thank you to the 35 people who are out there watching.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Klein. Dr. Warren.
Just echoing Mr. Klein, I really appreciate everybody's time. It's insane. I know how stressed I am owning a business, so I can't even imagine the stress that it's going to be on each and every one of you coming up with plans to keep thousands of people safe. So I appreciate all of the work that you guys have put into this. And I appreciate all of the staff out there, teachers, all of them, right? You got the janitorial staff, the lunchroom, and the bus drivers. And I know everybody has their own concerns, and I appreciate everything you guys are doing and working together in committees. So that way, when we're ready to either move forward or pause or go to bucket 3, as Mr. Miller said, we're ready for it. So I appreciate it very much. Yeah, I'm so excited. We got a lot of people out there today. So I have 3 screens, so I'm always looking around at you. Well, all of us. So I appreciate it greatly. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Warren. Mr. Moynihan.
I have no comments at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Mrs. McDonald.
Sorry. I would like to thank the parents and staff who have given up their time to work on the focus groups. I mean, starting back in May, and I know that's a kind of a moving instrument as we find out more scientifically what can and can't be done. So thanks for your commitment to that. Thanks to all who submitted questions or comments tonight and otherwise joined us on for our meeting here. And of course, thanks to all the staff, including, everybody, administrators, teachers, for their commitment to the district and our students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. McDonald. Mrs. Flipiak.
She had to jump off.
She did. I knew that. And but listen, I skipped her once. I'm not going to skip her again. So just picking up real quick on what Mr. Scheer said. I don't know content-wise how movies fit into curriculum and all of that. That's for John to figure out. I do know though that if it's important enough for implicit bias training to work its way into medical professionals, it's probably important that it work its way to in the education setting as well. And I know there's a lot going on right now, but that's an awfully important topic as well. Perhaps there's a method by which we could lead by example. I know as a board member, I'd be more than happy to take the training. And maybe that could then, filter down to central office, district buildings, and teaching, and then all staff, really. So just a thought, food for thought for Dr. Tufelsky and Mike. But anyway, besides that, I just want to thank everybody for great questions tonight. Thank you to the audience for participating. And not easy times right now, but it does appear that everybody's working really hard and certainly is working in good faith. So I thank everybody for their efforts in that regard. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that concludes tonight's meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.